Hey, what's up? I'm Brian Klein, and today I'd like to break down a complex boat into some very simple layers. So, everything on a boat can be thought of in terms of just 8 layers, which also correlate to the priority of importance that you should work on them in, which also correlates to 8 areas of skill that you can develop. So, in fact, if you develop your skill sets in each of these just 8 areas, you'll be able to fix, maintain, and improve your own boat. So, what are the 8 layers? Well, at the very basic, we have the hull of the boat. We have the hull and the deck. Now, just like a house, this is just like the foundation. It's critical that these are in good condition because everything else is attached to or supported by the hull and the deck of the boat. All right. On top of that, on a sailboat, you've got the rig. Now, the rig is super critical because it's attached to almost the entire hull and deck of the boat, and any failure there obviously would be fairly catastrophic. Not to mention that it's your primary mode of propulsion on a sailboat, but it's an integral part of the sailboat. So you want to make sure your rig is in good working condition. It's pretty simple, even though it's large, rigs are pretty simple, so it's not difficult to keep that looking good and working well. Then you've got your engine. If you have an engine aboard, then your engine is like its own department of skill and priority. Notice it's below the rig in terms of priority. It comes after the rig. So make sure the boat sails well and it floats, and then you can think about the engine. All right, and then you've got the electrical system. Now, boats have a fairly complex electrical system sometimes, but it's still just basic AC, DC, and you can look up all kinds of tutorials. Maybe I'll make one on how to think about your electrical system. But in a nutshell, you want to make sure that it's working well and it's not presenting any dangers to the boat. So electrical systems can cause fires, and they do. So at a bare minimum, you want to make sure that your electrical system is not going to cause present any danger. Then you've got your plumbing system. Now, plumbing you might think of as like maybe running water at the sink, and of course the toilet and the head. But also plumbing also relates to like your through hulls, so for cockpit drains and bilge pumps, and like your sink drain probably drains right out through the bottom of the boat, and that piece of plumbing is critical. So that needs to be in good shape because that can sink your boat if you have that particular piece of plumbing fail. But plumbing is not a complex craft or skill set, especially on a boat. Usually it's fairly simple and straightforward. So make sure your plumbing is in good order. All right. So you can see there that electrical and plumbing, those a failure, like a major failure in either one of those, could be catastrophic to the whole boat. So it's not like one has to necessarily come after the other. But you'll see as we go through the next few that we're starting to get into more, sort of more protective and cosmetic layers, as opposed to like truly critical systems of the boat. So next we're going to talk about layer 6, which is like the furniture, all of the things that are in and on the boat that are there more or less for like organization and creature comforts of the human. So there you've got skills like fiberglass work and maybe some woodworking, some carpentry that would come in handy for the furniture. And then layer 7 is things like paint. And paint can be anything from literal paint on surfaces inside the boat, surfaces on the bottom of the boat, like the bottom paint, and surfaces on the deck of the boat. But also like, polishing, keeping your stainless and your metals in good condition, and keeping the gel coat of the fiberglass in good condition, keeping your varnish. If you've got bright work on your boat, those boats that have beautiful glowing golden wood on them on the outside, that falls under the category of paint. So basic painting skills. Very simple to learn. And then lastly, we have canvas. And canvas covers everything from sail covers and dodgers and privacy cloths around the cockpit to bags to put your lines in to cushions inside and cushion covers and even a rug would fall under canvas, or like bed sheets. So all of that's canvas, and all of that is you maintain all of that through the skill of sewing. So just to go back over it, we've got the hull and the deck, and that's usually comprised mostly on most boats. It's going to be fiberglass and maybe some wood to maintain those two foundational components of the boat. And then you've got the rig, and the skill set that's involved there is mostly like measuring and assembling pieces. So if you can measure things pretty well, then you can do splicing, and you can replace components of the standing rigging and of the running rigging without too much trouble. So rigging would be sort of like if you were in the bookstore, the library, or searching online, you would look for a guide on rigging. And then you have the engine, so that's mechanical. That is, there's all kinds of guides on mechanical work, but that is a mechanic type of domain. So you can become your own mechanic. And then electrical is easy. That's electrical. Plumbing is plumbing. And furniture, like I said, it's a little bit of fiberglass maybe. Might have a little bit of woodwork in there. And then paint is painting, and canvas is sewing. So there you go. In order of most important to least important, if you kind of work that order of priority, you'll usually make sure that you're not going to find yourself stitching up a hole in the canvas while you have an electrical short, or you have a loose rudder, or you have a through hull that's half rotted through. Okay, so just make sure you've got your foundations covered. Everything else, paint, canvas, is just gravy. So that's really all there is to take care of a boat. 8 simple categories. And I encourage you to think about these 8 categories if you're looking at boats, if you're starting to feel overwhelmed about your own boat. What's important to fix or improve upon next, you might be wondering? Well, look at that list. Because going down that list is going to help you become more self-sufficient. So use that list as a guide. That's all for now. Thanks for joining me. See you in the next one.